You see, to say an extraordinary thing, our real living is in the mind. Our thoughts of happiness or thoughts of despair, thoughts of hope, thoughts of life, thoughts of death, thoughts of health and thoughts of illness. If we don't know about some impending physical condition, it doesn't affect our happiness and our hopes and dreams. If we do anticipate some desperate health condition, we can be in despair, depressed, and overwhelmed. That's as we find things. We find that living is a mental condition. That suggests it's a bad condition, but I don't mean that. I mean it is all of the mind. And religion handles the despair of life with a mind solution, if you can take it, if you can attain it, which is to say, have these beliefs instead of the ones you're preoccupied with. Take these values, which may help these beliefs and expectations, and you'll find you're in a state of happiness. The addict says, yes, I achieved that with my addiction, but only in the short run. And in the long run, I find my despair is over the addiction. And the religious say, yes, but the addiction I'm giving you is not like that. It's a blessing. And the addict says, well, yeah, I suppose it could be better than the one I've got, but I don't seem to be able to take your addiction, this devotion to a God that may be there, or, well, he hasn't been there for me as far as I can see. And so the solution, which I'll call it a spiritual solution, because I'm not clear that religion emphasizes it much, is to open the eyes of the person to all the goodness that they have received. They have been preoccupied with when their addiction allows them to surface with all the evils of their life and the world, and their fears and troubles and expectations that have been built up as a consequence. And it's very hard to penetrate that, except by considering what they see as the miraculous. You know, I mean, it might be the life of Jesus, traditionally speaking, the miracle man who goes around rescuing the sick and, in some sense, personifies a God that cares for the poor and the desperate, and the preacher says, especially he cares for you, all of us. And the story is fantastic, of course. I mean, it's way beyond our comprehension that such a God truly exists and ideally does indeed truly love. But if we can keep the person's mind on it long enough, they start to flirt with this hope and may well embrace it. And if they do, well, anyone can see there's an extraordinary transformation in their life, in their well-being and their happiness. But if, of course, they simply settle for another drone-like existence of religion, ritual, I mean dead ritual, meaningless ritual to them, because they don't really understand the ritual symbolism anyway. And it stands for values that they don't necessarily have. I mean, integrity and honesty has not necessarily been your past experience and training, and nor has love and compassion and generosity and the sheer joy of blessing others, or caring for life, or sensitivity to nature, well, even knowing nature indeed. Schools and devices and home life don't necessarily include nature in modern industrial state. You see, we are, yes, technically and materially amazingly catered for, and even much of the relatively poor are. But our sensitivity to nature and creativity and loving relationships may have been a near starvation since awareness of anything in this life. To rescue such people takes quite a miracle. And indeed, if they see a miracle, it can cut through it all. And much of the miracle healing, whether it be of traditional religion that's now gone, say, Pentecostal, charismatic, or whether it's New Age, holistic, organic living, may just displace this great build-up that the individual has in their value system and their experience. May just give them a tremendous lift for a while, and then they drop back into the morass of what the world around them may still be. And they may continue now as religious equivalents of the world, but in the 21st century, as a sort of anachronism that really commends itself to nobody. I'm not particularly hitting at religion here. I'm saying that our dilemma is our environment. And to be in a religious environment may be no more spiritual and uplifting than a secular one. You know, a church that doesn't really relate, that bickers and fractures with each other, and whose members keep moving on, you know, every few years to the next church and so on, just as they do in accommodation, shifting every 5 or 10 years easily to somewhere else, and losing all relationships that, well, may not have been too good anyway, not meaningful in the way that we need. And I do think spirituality, to not drop into the same morass, has to prioritize relationship. Now, in some sense, I think I can resurrect from well, especially Christianity, what I see in the Jesus-John Gospel story as a fundamental relationship that is the blessing, which is that your God is your heavenly dad, loves and cares for you and is all capable. Now this is a fantastic assumption to flirt with, but it's very exciting too. And the Merlin Carothers way was to say, well, first of all, whatsoever's good and lovely, think on these things and be thankful for them. And then extend your thanks as a continual, regular practice of living to the minor things like the bad dreams that you can't quite fathom, the little things that go wrong, missing the bus, I usually say. You cut your finger, or you can't go to this evening. You've missed it. Oh dear. No, the reaction is instead to say, gosh, I'm going to thank you for this, Lord. And I'm quite happy to thank you for it anyway, because I've seen the goodness of God in the land of the living. I've seen the many ways you bless me. The fresh air, well, unless you live in a city, of course. The friends I do know. The accommodation that I do have. The kindnesses I receive each day, actually. Might just be a hello to some people. Might just be something nice to eat. Might be some nice conversation I had with someone, or meeting someone I do like and appreciate. So whatsoever's good and lovely, we think on these things. And of course, the foundation is your God, whom you see as good and lovely, because it's the personification of what you value. So you thank him. Could be her, I agree, but the Jesus story is him, so I run with that. Even though my relationship as a child was with Mum, not with Dad. But I run with Heavenly Dad. I'm happy to. I know in my heart I'm thinking of God as neither male nor female, but I run with Heavenly Dad. It's a nice change to my concern about my dad. And it's good really. But I can certainly appreciate those who run with Divine Mother. And yeah, okay. Let me review. To have the motivation for this transformation, well, you have to build it. Take up the habit of thanking God for everything that you can find in your life that is good. Your existence, your awareness, your sight, your hearing, whatever it is that's blessing you, your sense of touch, taste, waking, sleeping, eating, talking, ability to talk, ability to think and understand. Perhaps you can read. Perhaps you have all sorts of things that are a blessing materially in your life. You might have a mobile phone. You might have a television. You might not. You might have access to a library. Amazing things. You may have a park you can walk in, or a railway embankment you can enjoy. I used to walk along one. Half of my walk to school was along an embankment to the river. It looked more like a canal really in England. That was in Ipswich. I used to teach in a place called Westbourne, which was probably good mile and a half from the railway station where I arrived each day and walked home each afternoon. Unless it was pouring with rain, of course. And I think I probably stuck to the road right way. But do you see, you can start to shift your focus. In other words, you can start to befriend a much better environment for your mind and for your thoughts, and your hopes and your values will transform accordingly, and you'll want God to exist, your God, very much your wonderful God, and I would put it in terms of your dad that loves and cares for you, has always, and that you're a part of the same spiritual, genetic line. He's your dad and you're his child, and he loves you and provides. And then, as you start to trust in such, if you can start to conceive of him as all-powerful and all-loving, then you will start to assume that some of the minor things that are wrong in life, not the major ones, just start with the minor ones, may turn out to be a blessing. And as you see some of them turning out to be a blessing, your faith and hope will grow. And that is what you need. In other words, you're keeping good company in the mind. And you will, of course, gravitate to good company in the external physical world too. Good media, good environment like walks in nature, the park if there is one, and so forth. Or just looking at the clouds, the heavens, the sky, and enjoying the sunshine when it's there. Not too much. I don't want you to get what's it, melanoma or something. But enjoy a healthful life. You'll gravitate to food that is more healthful for you too. And that will help. Because you see, we are both a physical and a mental, psychological rather, I should say, spiritual being. And we need to cater for such with some care and some purpose. And that purpose comes from being more aware of the goodness of God in your life. I had fainted had I not believed to have seen the goodness of God in the land of the living. Well, that was supposedly for Solomon, and it's true for you too. Make it so. Bless you. So take up this life of what Merlin Carruthers called prison to praise. He moved from an imprisonment in the reality of the mind to praise of God. Again in the mind, you see. You could say it was praying without ceasing, as Paul commends to us, an eternal thankfulness. You become oblivious to any negative association with changes around you. You see them all as opportunities of God given to us to be closer to heaven. And yes, it does include the expectation of an eternal life, a heavenly relationship in the family of God, because in some sense that's what a heavenly dad would be. Saying, but is it real? And I say to you, it's not physical, it's spiritual. But you're not physical either, and this is the problem. You being spiritual and not happy with the physical. Not if it's just physical life. Physical life with a spiritual joy and happiness is great. But physical life without such is a nightmare. Is hell, in fact, on earth. And many, many, many people are experiencing just that. And it becomes a great fear for the others who fall into the same pit, so to speak. But it need not be so. And that's what, if you like, Hark the Herald Angels sing. The story of Jesus is meant to be about. It's actually the solution to man's problems. But religion missed the point and embraced a theology of what Marcion, a major early Gnostic Christian, had mastered, I think. That God was not this Judaic, Hebrew, roaring, thundering, in fact, God of war from the mountains that judged and destroyed all his enemies. The Jesus story was not this. The first word of his prayer for us is, Father, the hour has come. Glorify thy Son. You are his Son. He's not talking about himself. He's talking about the Spirit in you, the Holy Spirit. Same Spirit as your dad. Not the spirit of the world that you've taken on through being here. Being here, you've been in a world of good and evil. It's a special sort of classroom, if you like, which is a great teaching environment. It's not a great loving environment. It's not home being with mum, or, auntie or granny, or sister who's good to you. No, this is a world of good and evil that you may learn most earnestly to embrace the good and reject the evil. I don't mean reject people. I mean reject all things that are against life and destroy it, that you may graduate to a life in heaven of absolute safety because of your transformed values that are ever matured in God. You have God's values, not just your present ones, as you find them in this world. It's an incredible training place, and it's doing it well, and we thank God for the training, because he loves us and blesses us, and we refuse to think of anything other than this, that he both loves us and blesses us. It is our way of expressing our thanks for all the good that we start to see when we open our eyes and realize what an astonishing experience this life is compared to, say, just being asleep. Especially if you dream badly when you're asleep. Which some of us do some of the time, don't we? It's that children's thing, is it only a dream? Row your boat merrily ashore. Oh, yeah, something like that. Life is but a dream. It's a mainly music one that we used to sing with the kids. And we are kids. When you see yourself as a child of God, you'll be forgiving of yourself and others, much more loving, and this love will overtake you, thank God, and you will find you have life eternal. It's as simple as that, as amazing as that, and as lovely as that. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.